Director of Sponsorships and Experiential at AT&T, Matt Davis, Head of U.S. Sports Marketing at AB InBev, and Matthew Coleman, who we've already had the privilege to hear from, the Director of Media Sponsorships and Digital Marketing at State Farm. I'm Jack Jenkins, really thrilled to be here, Head of Midwest Brand Partnerships at Overtime. Without further ado, let's hop in. We have a great topic today, the future of fan engagement. I think it's important that before we look forward, we look backward, right? And think about some of the things that you guys have brought to market over the past 18 months or so. Andrea, looking back, what are programs that best represent AT&T's commitment to innovative fan engagement?
Yeah, I think the last 18 months have been a testament to AT&T's innovation. If you think about all the different ways we had to pivot on how we connect with our fans, from going from in-person event to more digital and social. Think about how we connect. We connect over the network, over the 5G network, over your home fiber or Wi-Fi. So we've really leaned in on what we do best, and that is connectivity. And there's two different things where I think we've really excelled. And one of them is the Emmy Award-winning AT&T 5G HoloVision. We were able to work with the league, with our broadcast partners at ESPN and Turner to do something really unique. And that was when we couldn't get people into the bubble, we actually were able to use technology and 5G to have a face-to-face, look you in the eye interview between analysts maybe in LA or Atlanta with a player that's in the bubble. So you still had that real natural rapport. The low latency of 5G made it all possible. So we were able to solve a unique problem that only the bubble could create, right? And really be able to find new ways for people to connect. So we loved that idea so much that we took that to draft too, right? You had these potential draft picks that were looking forward to this amazing day of their lives that they've been dreaming about since they were kids, and they didn't get all of the cool benefits that go along with it. But we worked with Patrick Williams to connect him to his childhood idol, which is Diana Taurasi of the WNBA, and we really loved that because it was also able to bring in our WNBA relationship as well. But we were able to connect them to give each other kind of a Diana give him a pep talk about what it's like coming into league, becoming a professional athlete, and some training tips. And so it was create a really nice moment that you probably wouldn't have gotten in any other kind of distance technology, right? You were able to create a really close connection even from across the country. And then the second way we've sort of evolved over the last 18 months is really, we know that people aren't able to be at the games, but we've sort of been working on this probably for a couple of years now. I think it dates back to Summer League of 2019, where we did the first ever 5G broadcast of a sporting event with the NBA. And so it takes that phone that you have in your hand, the 5G phones, and gives you become a cameraman essentially, right? So there's no cords, no big equipment, and you're able to use the low latency of getting that straight to the broadcast truck and having that be a real live feed. So we did that 2 years ago at Summer League, but it came in handy as we got closer to, like I said, NBA All-Star 2020, right before everything shut down. We had Shaq sitting on the front row during AT&T Slam Dunk contest, giving it kind of a unique fan perspective, right there on the front row. And then we kind of brought that into WNBA All-Star as well. We took LaChina Robinson, gave her a camera, or phone and a device, and she would use that as a camera that got integrated into the ESPN broadcast feed. So what that does is, even though you can't be front row seat or you can't be in the venue, if you think about how we're able to give fans that experience, and also a little bit of personality to go along with it. With Shaq, with LaChina, they're able to interact with players in a way that, sometimes the cameramen aren't able to do. So it actually provides a really unique experience for our fans at home that they, like I said, wouldn't get otherwise, even if they were in the venue.
Those are great examples. Thank you for sharing. And I encourage you all to Google search the HoloVision examples, some amazing content that came out of that. Same question, Matt Davis. What innovative work from AB over the past 18 months will you share with the audience?
Yeah, of course. And thank you again for having me, Jack. Appreciate all your work going into this. I think COVID obviously presented a lot of obstacles, but it presented a lot of opportunities too for the brands and the organizations that were willing to try something new. Much to Andrea's point on how AT&T kind of embraced that to bring fans a different experience. At Anheuser-Busch, we often say, I don't fuel the athletes, but I fuel the fans. We think we're pretty integral to the fan experience, both at home and inside the stadium, and how they enjoy watching these games and participating in the NBA. And so there's two kind of examples, I think one more tactical and one more creative that, we really like to exemplify. The first is, understanding the world was going to change. There's been a lot of arenas and stadiums that we've worked with that recognized during COVID that once the world comes back, and we all knew eventually it'd be coming back, that the fan experience when they come to venue especially was not going to look the same. And so we've made a lot of strides with some of our partners to really be innovative inside of the venue to start driving what does that new fan experience look like. Grab and go stations, in-seat ordering. We've been doing pilots with teams like the Denver Broncos where fans can, scan an app on their phone, walk into a kiosk, they grab all the items themselves, walk out. It's 30 seconds, essentially removing lines and making that fan experience cleaner, but also just more seamless, right? It was really an opportunity to reset the rituals that we thought the fans would be experiencing inside the venue. On the more creative lens, we saw an opportunity working with the NBA and Microsoft to really democratize the courtside experience. No longer is it, the Spike Lees and these famous celebrities sitting courtside. We were able to work with the NBA and Microsoft to really bring a courtside experience to the NBA inside the bubble that we've been excited to continue through draft, and you'll see it here in Summer League as well. And really what we did is, we understood that the feeling inside of these arenas, you had a lot of players like LeBron saying it won't be the same without fans inside the arena. How could we as Anheuser-Busch help solve that tension and really give fans that access to be courtside, right? And so creating the Michelob Ultra courtside, it was an innovative approach to really reimagine what a fan experience can look like. Luckily, we have fans back inside the arena, so now it's kind of, Michelob Ultra courtside 2.0 of how do we continue to give fans an experience that maybe otherwise wouldn't exist. The NBA has been amazing at looking at things differently, constantly, challenging the status quo. I think there isn't a lot of leagues or teams better at doing that than the NBA, which is such a epitome and crossroads of culture, fan experience, and then the game itself.
That's a wonderful example. And Matt Coleman, you spoke to innovation in your opening remarks. What can you tell us about State Farm's agenda the past 18 months?
Yeah, it's interesting when you just kind of compare and contrast across industries, right? So, you have Matt, who's in the beverage space, and Andrea, who's kind of in that tech world. And the way that they show up, at least in person and even virtually, is likely going to be different than what you would hear from someone like me in the service industry. I know for us, as we think about basketball, a core strategy for us is to amplify our brand messages in contextually relevant ways, and making sure that we're creating valuable content that resonates with millennials and Gen Z consumers. And so I think one example of that over the last 18 months has been just how we've tried to integrate within NBA programming. And probably one of the better examples, at least for us, would be our integration within The Last Dance. And so, our deep fake spots were some of the most talked about moments during the overall documentary. And that certainly resulted in us playing a significant role in such a culturally relevant moment. And, just given the various accolades that we, along with translation and creative works, have received over the last, I guess last year or so now. For us, The Last Dance is certainly something. It's, we call it the gift that keeps on giving, just given all the attention that we've garnered from it, not only in terms of, industry accolades, but in terms of some of the key markers that we have in terms of KPIs for success with campaigns like this. Don't know that we've seen a campaign, hit the mark as strong as this did. I think another example, Jack, would actually be some of the things that we've done in partnership with you guys, right? So, with Overtime, you guys have the League Ready web series. So as we think about, Team Ignite, and how we're able to connect to the next generation of fans who are more likely to engage through digital and social channels. I think, a trend for us, whether it's The Last Dance or the partnership that we have with you all, is that we're trying to think forward in terms of how consumers are engaging, where they're engaging. And there's certainly in-game and game day moments that we want to be a part of. But there are other ways that we're thinking about engaging consumers as well.
Thank you for the nod there. I must say, though, on The Last Dance, that was absolutely amazing work. And if we think about how bad we needed sports content at the time, it was spectacular. So congratulations to you and your teammates on that. To Matt Davis, as we consider the mindset of the modern fan, there's certainly a demand for a memorable experience. How do you manage that balance of the demand from fans for experiences up against what you need to achieve as a business and remaining authentic to the brands that you control?
Yeah, completely. Matthew, I think you mentioned it right. It's understanding what the fans want and what they're looking for. I think that's a really important place to start, because if you understand what your brand stands for and what your brand wants to achieve in a space, but it doesn't match up with what fans are asking for, you're really going to be trying to put, a square peg into a round hole. And I think you're constantly going to be running into issues with relevancy. So for us, understanding what the consumers and the fans want is really step one to understanding how we can be most relevant with those local fan bases. Pat, once you find out the relevancy, what are the storylines, what are the tension points that you as a brand can help solve? And Matthew, you guys did an amazing job of solving some of those tension points, right? The State Farm commercials were an amazing kind of fake out for fans as they were watching The Last Dance. But once you understand those tension points or storylines, you can find where your brands in particular can create an ownership platform to relieve or to excite and elevate some of those passions and tensions and passion points as a whole. One of the examples that we did just more recently, there's obviously this huge demand and pent up culture around shoe culture in the NBA. As Michelob Ultra, we haven't really had a huge place to play in the shoe culture portion of the NBA, but we had a kind of a partnership that came to life with Tinker Hatfield, who is an epic shoe designer, legendary in his own right. And fans really clamor for what Tinker's going to be coming out with next. For those that don't know, he's the mind behind the Jordan brand and working with Nike in design. And what we did is every year we work to create championship bottles that are more endemic to our brand. It's understanding, it's really maybe the spot where our brands are the most endemic inside of the NBA. It's toasting the achievement of winning the NBA championship, right? Winning the NBA finals. And so what we did is we worked with Tinker to design these championship bottles. We gave fans an opportunity to win them because they're not for sale. Just like a championship is won, it's not for sold, not for sale. And working collectively with Tinker, we were able to tap into that passion point, find the authentic, endemic way that our brands could be most relevant to increase and excite that passion point, and then brought it to life. And we saw some amazing results with the fans because of it.
Thank you for sharing. And Matt Coleman, thinking about that same balance, how are you delivering for fans authentically?
Yeah, so we certainly want to make sure that we're being authentic to what fans want, but we, like Matt and Andrea, right? We have business objectives that we're trying to reach as well. So for us, we've leaned in heavily into our Surprisingly Great Rates campaign. And from an NBA standpoint, we've really focused on Chris Paul and Jake to help get that message out. And Chris has been a brand ambassador for years and a great advocate for what we do and what we believe in, and our values align well there. But during the play-in tournament that we sponsored this year, we wanted to explore just different ways to extend the tone of the campaign while meeting customers where they were. So for us, we tried to be creative and actually develop custom game recaps within two spaces. So one was within the NBA's TikTok and Instagram Reels accounts. And we also did that through different partner integrations. So through TikTok and Reels, we actually teamed up with artists from United Masters, so Grace Weber as well as Just Low, to produce 6 surprisingly great video recaps that included custom tracks and custom lyrics that made it authentic to that environment, right? So if you go to State Farm's TikTok account, don't know that you would see that, but you would absolutely expect to see something like that on the NBA's TikTok account. And we were able to have a really strong activation there. And we know that the videos themselves actually frame the NBA highlights through the lens of that surprisingly great story. So not only were we in a place that was kind of endemic to the moment, but we were able to get our brand message out in a way that was authentic to the platform that we were on, which is something that we were going for there. As we think about just different partner integrations that we had, we just wanted to continue to build on our overall support for the tournament, while leveraging the themes from the campaign. So we did a couple of things with ESPN and one with Turner. So with ESPN, we had some in-game broadcasts. And so that just featured some 2-box segments that included ESPN talent. So we had Christine Williamson, as well as United Masters talent. Just Low was there as well. And so we had an opportunity to do some integrations there. Also with ESPN, we did hoop streams, as well as being on the Sports Center Snapchat. So those were actual game recaps that were rapped by Christine Williamson. And so again, custom lyrics and track beds that we were able to use in that environment. So again, just trying to be really authentic to the environment. And then with Turner, we aired a branded segment that included two other United Masters artists, Siobhan and Armani White. And so, just partnering with new and budding talent on those various tech platforms just gives us a degree of authenticity and relevance that we wouldn't have been able to replicate on our own.
Without a doubt. Andrea, AT&T has such a rich history of activating experientially. How are you meeting the demands of fans through that lens?
Yeah, actually, again, I'll bring it back to what we do best, which is connecting people. And I think that, first and foremost, for people to have a memorable experience at the game, we've got to make sure everything works properly, right? So that's step one. And so our network is really the backbone of not only just the fans uploading content, sharing their experiences there on the site, but also team partners, venues. They're now using, especially post-COVID, the network for mobile ticketing, for touchless interactions at concession stands, for in-seat ordering. There's all sorts of use cases that, with more pressure on the network, that it's imperative for that to work properly so it doesn't impact the fan experience, because we want it to be a good, memorable experience. We talk about memorable experiences, we want it to be for the right reasons, right? And so that's when people can capture their content, share it out to their networks. So that's kind of first and foremost to us. So then we look at, how are we activating with the fans, right? And I think there are two things that I look at. And the first one is what we did with the conference finals this year. We know how important music is for the NBA fan base. Lots of great music fans, lots of great artists that are fans of the league as well. And we know that people hadn't been going to concerts, but wanted to create kind of a unique experience around that. So we partnered with Corday, Chica, 2 Chainz, and Big Sean to create XR concerts. So we brought them kind of alone into a studio and created these unique XR environments that we tied to our broadcast features with our broadcast partners, ESPN and Turner. And then with we had those in XR, and then with Big Sean, we actually did a separate set for him in AR. So we're able to take the content from him, and you could actually have Big Sean, given a concert set in your living room on your coffee table, if you wanted a little mini Big Sean, but you could scale into be as big as your room, basically. So it really creates some really unique experiences that people could have in their home, even if they're not going to a concert. We'll bring the concert into their houses, right? And then the other thing that we actually launched with the Bulls, inside the Bulls app this year, was the AT&T Stat Zone. And again, this is one other way that we were able to kind of connect people. Not only are you able to have like an AR experience where you're kind of checking out a customized view of in-game kind of stats and major milestone moments and things like that, but you're able to share those out. You have the AR experience, and then you can share it to family and friends. So it creates a way to be connected, even if you're not in the same location. So those are areas I think that we are, again, leaning into how like both in venue and how do you scale that to be at home, just given we don't know the nature of the beast as we head into this next season.
Let's switch gears here. Matt Coleman, for many marketers, not all of us, sorry, Matt, NIL policy changes will bring about new fan engagement opportunity. And to the extent you feel comfortable, what does NIL mean in terms of the evolution? What does it mean for State Farm's business looking forward?
Yeah, NIL is interesting, right? Because you're starting to get into the space of player empowerment, which has been in the works for a number of years, right? And we certainly have a really strong relationship with the NCAA, so it's interesting to see how they're responding. I know for us, I think it just opens up some new opportunity for us, and so I think the high end of the millennial age range right now is 40, right? So we have millennials who are turning 40 now, and are certainly at that stage in life where they're making different types of decisions for their household, and are certainly a valuable segment for us, and we're going to continue to target millennials. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're reaching out to that Gen Z population, right? That growing population that is going to engage with brands differently and has different expectations of brands, and wanting to make sure that we're there with them as well. And so I just think with the NIL changes, that we're certainly going to have an opportunity to maybe support both of those customer segments in a way that allows us to interact with collegiate talent in ways that we haven't been able to before, just because of NCAA rules. I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is, if you think about State Farm, we have 19,000 agents, right? Over 19,000 agents. So we actually have more State Farm agents in the US than there are McDonald's. So it kind of gives you an idea of scale across the entire country. And those agents are very much sports fans, right? These are not only fans, but we have some of our agents who are former athletes, not only high school, but collegiate athletes, some pro. And they're very engaged in their respective communities. And so we think we have an opportunity here with NIL to maybe establish some parameters potentially for our agents to work within that allow them the opportunity to engage with college athletes in their backyard, right? So that's all hypothetical at this point, right? So lots for us to work out, but at least as I think about the NIL opportunity, I think there's lots there relative to consumer targeting and being in places that are relevant to them and being able to leverage the power of our 19,000 plus agents.
Yeah, definitely a powerful opportunity. And I know others share the feeling. We look forward to seeing how you guys take on a leadership role in the space. One more time, Matt Davis, the future of fan engagement will certainly be shaped by the next gen fan, the Gen Zers that Matt Coleman just spoke about. Why is it so important to AB to invest in this generation?
Yeah, I mean, the next generation is going to dictate the rituals of tomorrow. And being a part of that conversation will help you as a brand infuse yourself into those rituals as well. We know that once fans kind of concrete and set their rituals as it relates to watching from home or watching from a friend's house or how they watch the games, it's very hard to shift that ritual. They understand, they know what channel to go to get their game. They know they're going to show up at their buddy's place at XYZ time. They know what social media channels they like to follow. And we've seen, once you follow these accounts, you don't usually unfollow them. And so setting those rituals when the fans are coming into the league becomes really important for a brand early on. As it's moving so quickly, I think it's a huge opportunity for brands to be at the forefront of that movement. Obviously, broadcast still pulls a ton of weight as it relates to how people are consuming games. But we know that the younger fans in particular really are favoring highlights. They're favoring behind the scenes content. They love to see stuff that kind of blends the crossroads between culture, music, the sport itself. If you look at the last NBA finals, millions of people watched on broadcast, but then right after the game, hundreds of thousands watch Giannis place a 50 nugget order at a drive-through window. And that power of creating content on the fly is a whole new aspect of the ritual that for us, it's really important to become a part of early on in these rituals that fans are establishing so that we can start capitalizing on it throughout the course of the rest of their life.
Guilty. I was one of those viewers following along.
It was something new,
Pretty spectacular to see the impact of the finals in the city of Milwaukee and the way that those fans there were leaning in inside and outside the arena in the Deer District. I would like to encourage those that are following along to drop in a question if you have one into the Q&A widget. I have one that's can be, I think, hopefully addressed by all three of you. As we think about the future, obviously there's some discomfort in doing things differently. So give me an example of where you have bent off of what would be a traditional approach. What have you done differently? Something that made you a little uncomfortable as you hit the approval button, so to speak, in taking something to market. Start with Andrea.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to basically everything we've done with COVID, like in this COVID era of the last 18 months, because that was not in the playbook, right? We have as you mentioned before, a rich tradition, like these great on-site activations. We make sure that we're, connecting with our audience because we know that our product is always tangible and network is really difficult to experience unless you immerse. So I think that was a big pivot for us. Always try to make things not have those high touch moments was a challenge for us. But again, I think that's a risk we took that paid off big for us. I mean, I think we've we've found new ways to connect. And again, it actually puts our technology more at the forefront because we're able to demonstrate the reach that our network has and how people can connect. So I'd say, like I said, HoloVision, I use it probably as an example for everything, because it was that first big example of, a big pivot, a big challenge logistically. I mean, that was one that we pulled off with, again, not a lot of time. So again, that's also a difficult part when you're going through an approval. It's like, are we going to have the time and the resources to pull this off? So that was a big risk. And again, we're very excited for how it turned out, because it is definitely been one that we point to as one of our most innovative activations.
That was great. And I think you also addressed one of the questions that just popped up in how you plan experientially right now with so much uncertainty. So thank you for addressing that. Matt Coleman, care to join in on an area of discomfort?
Yeah, it's kind of in that experiential space, right? So, mentioned the agents that we have, and we normally make sure that we equip all of our agents to be able to bolster their local presence, and we weren't able to do that in 2020. And for us as a larger brand, our on-site presence was scaled back significantly, and in some cases reduced entirely. So I think one thing for us, I think, I mentioned, just digital adoption earlier on. We were certainly skewing in that direction, but it was certainly accelerated for us. I think some of the bets that we placed as far as the types of platforms that we would want to be on, and the type of messages that we would have on those platforms, and how we engage on those platforms, I think has changed significantly over the last 18 months. I don't know if 18 months ago you would have seen us partner with, United Masters and have and work with artists who are developing their own tracks and their own lyrics to some of the brand elements that we normally hold so dear, right? We can be really protective of some of those brand elements, but we had to change, just given how consumers were, consuming media, and just some of the limited options that we had with having an on-site presence. And so just that rapid, adoption of digital for us, and the willingness to take some swings relative to talent that maybe we wouldn't have taken in years past, are probably some of the key changes that stand out for me.
Appreciate you sharing. Matt Davis, any thoughts as we approach our closing window here?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that our brands like to force the uncomfort a little bit on ourselves, mostly because, like I said, we drive for that local relevancy, which I know is a bit of a buzzword, but it's really about finding the way that our brands can be part of the excitement that the fans have. And in doing that, a lot of times you need to be somewhat real time. If you come out with your campaign 2 weeks after the moment has passed, no one's going to really care about it. It won't add to that excitement. And so we try to be very real time with the things that the fans are talking about. And I think inevitably when you do things fast, you leave some caution, that you have to be comfortable with. Some examples of that, I think, are Ultra Courtside, the NBA. We have an amazing partnership. I think trust is only the way that something like that will come to life. We did not see those boards until a couple of days before the first game. And so you talk about making me uncomfortable. Like, yeah, I was a little uncomfortable for that, but there's a lot of trust between us and the NBA that, listen, we'll make this work and we'll figure it out. And we know that the insight and what we're trying to solve for the fans is there. Another example of trust with us and a partner is, the NFL. We did a campaign during the draft last year of Boo the Commish, which was, fans weren't going to be there to boo Roger Goodell, but that was a tradition and a ritual they wanted. So how can Bud Light help kind of step in and give them an outlet for that? A lot of respect for the NFL to be open to that kind of idea. I think they really understood their fans. And I think, it went back towards a good cause of COVID relief, which always helps, kind of the narrative as a whole. And again, there was a lot of trust between us and the league to make something like that happen. And I think that's a big piece of making, the trust helps make the risk and the uncomfort an actual reality, something that you can bring to life.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that plunge. I do have a friend who is lucky to be selected as a Bucks fan to participate on the board, and she is a lifelong brand advocate as a result. So way to go there. I think this question asks about celebrity endorsement and athlete endorsement as we look to the future. How are you thinking about, Matt, you spoke to the role of influencers. How are the three of you thinking about ambassadorship as we move forward? Let's start maybe with Andrea.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think we're looking at influencers as a way for to talk to our target audience in their language, right? I mean, I don't think it's unheard of to think that, AT&T has been around a really long time. We have a very diverse customer base, but we want to make sure that we are talking to our customers, potential customers, in a way that's relevant to them. And for us, especially with the NBA, it's a great way to tap into a lot of influencers, the athletes themselves, to really, like I said, make it more authentic and connect with them. Yeah. So I think we'll continue to see more of that from us as we put together those plans. Reaching millennials and Gen Z.
Matt C.
Yeah, I know we mentioned Chris earlier. A great relationship with Chris, and that's been true over the duration of our relationship with him. And we've definitely seen some benefits from a brand ambassador standpoint, especially, well, not especially, but not just with how he shows up on television, but if you think about some of the social justice causes that matter to him, those are some of the same issues that matter to us as a brand. So there's been some really strong alignment there. We certainly do similar things with brand ambassadors on the NFL side with Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. I would say though, and I would tend to agree with Andrea on this. If you look at where our consumers are going, right, they're not just gravitating to celebrities and athletes anymore, right? God forbid. I could put out my kid can put out they can post something on TikTok, and next thing you know, my daughter has 100,000 followers and she's an overnight sensation, right? So anybody can be a star, and anyone can gain notoriety in the space very quickly. We want to make sure that we're keeping up with kind of the trends that are happening within social. But I think what's most exciting for me, especially in the NBA space, is kind of that intersection of sports, music, and fashion. Lots of influencers in that space that we are keeping an eye on, and a number of them we've partnered with already, and others we are exploring further. So I think with influencers, there's certainly a way to use them as a way to kind of complement your brand ambassador roster if you're going that route. If you're not going the brand ambassador route, tons of opportunity within the influencer world.
Perfect. David, I think your face means we're probably at time here.
That is unfortunate. I wish I could let you guys go, on and on, but we'll have to have you back for part 2. There's part 2 and 3 tomorrow, but we got plenty of stuff to cover. So thank you, Matt, Matthew, Andrea, Jack. This was phenomenal, a great way to kick off our 3-day program. So we're going to keep things rolling. Really appreciate you guys joining us, and hope you stick around and stay tuned, because we've got NBA CMO coming up right now. So with that, actually, I will introduce and welcome to the stage Kate Chaveri, the Chief Marketing Officer of the NBA, along with Paul Dooley. Paul was a member of our community on the brand side at Coca-Cola for a number of years, now a big partner of ours over at Amazon Web Services. So Paul's going to moderate this discussion.